All right. Good morning, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sierra St. Arnold. I am a gold consultant here. And today we are going to be going over how to track income and expenses on Google Sheets, which is completely free. As I mentioned, I know some people use QuickBooks and things like that to keep up with it, but I don't like to pay for stuff if I don't have to. Google Sheets is free and I can access it from my computer, my phone, wherever I am. So I am going to kind of do this to show you guys what you need to do. If you want to follow along, that will probably be the most beneficial. And then that way, if you have any issues, I can try to help you through those. I'm not a Google Sheets expert by any means, but I can try to help you through it here in the moment. Otherwise, you can watch the recording. And then if you have questions, you can always reach out for that. So this is how I keep track of not only my income and my expenses, but also my bookings and when I should be paid for those bookings. So it has a couple different components into it, but the biggest thing is to track your income and expenses. This is what I turned into my accountant for my taxes. And she was like, this is super organized. This is everything I need and everything like that. So I am going to share my screen with you guys. So if you guys have questions, put them in the chat. I do have everybody muted just so there's no background noise, but if you put it in the chat, I will see it. So just ask there. So going into Google Sheets, which you should all know how to do that. If not, you can just Google Sheets and it should come up. We're just going to do a blank one. I don't use any of the already made templates or anything like that. And I always name it, personally for me, I name it bookings, income and expenses for whatever year I'm in. So bookings, income, and expenses this is 2023. So if you guys wanted to go ahead and start it for the year, we're only in March. So you certainly can, or if you need to go back and do last year's, then you can use this too. So basically what I do first is I am going to have several different sheets within this document, which I'll kind of go over here in a second. But this first one right here, I always name it, and you can do that by just double clicking on it. I named this my bookings for 2023, which obviously I know it already says it up here, but I also have, oh goodness, if you click this little plus button, it'll create another one. So this is where I put my money earned in 2023. And then I also have a tab that I name expenses in 2023. So it keeps them all separate, but they're all within the same document, if that makes sense. So it just makes it a little bit easier to keep up with. And they're all going to be very similar. They're all going to have very similar information on them. It's just a matter of what have I been paid, what am I expecting to be paid, and what have I spent. So going back to the bookings tab, you can't see the bottom of my screen. I don't know why. Let me try to stop sharing and do it this way. Is everybody else having trouble seeing the bottom of my screen too? Now it's showing. Okay, cool. All right, perfect. So for those of you that couldn't see that, if you click this little plus button right here, it'll add the additional sheets to your document, and then you can just double click it and change the name of it. So that's all I did. Nothing super fancy by any means. And then what I'm going to go in and do on my bookings tab, which is what I'm going to pretty much do on all the tabs, is I'm going to go in and make column names. And we're obviously going to edit this to make it look a little better than what it does. But the first column I always do is who or what. You can do client name or something like this, but in this column is going to be the client that you booked for. So I always just do who or what, because sometimes I book for companies and things like that. So I'll put in the company name as a what. But if you guys just want to put client name, then you certainly can. The next thing I put on here is the date that it was booked. So if I booked it on February 28th, I know exactly when I did that. I can go back and look for those emails or whatever it may be. Then I'm going to put the total amount booked. And I'm going to kind of explain this. And I know right now when you tab over, it looks like it's in two columns, but we're going to go back and edit this in just a minute, I promise. So I do the total amount booked. And then in this column right here, I do any instant commissions. So if I did an instant commission, I'm going to put those earnings in this column. And then I also do Archer commissions. So that's going to be like our traditional 30 to 60 days after we get paid commissions. Then I'm going to do total earned. Total earned, because I'm going to end up adding those two columns together, because sometimes in bookings I do both. Sometimes not, but sometimes I do. So I want to know the total that I'm going to be earning for that entire trip. And then over here, I like to add some information about the actual trip that they're going on. So I'm going to do travel dates, and then that way I know when they're actually going, so I can make sure I put it in my calendar and things like that. But it also, by putting it on here, it helps me see it all in one place. It helps me know about when I should get paid and things like that. So then the last thing that I put is when should I get paid? And I'm going to kind of show you guys how I determine that. So I'm going to go ahead and edit these and change the font. I just use this first one right here. Calibri, I think is how you pronounce it. I bold it. I make sure that I center it because I'm weird about that stuff. And then you can increase the size so it's a little bit bigger. I usually do like 14. And then obviously you can't really read what this says, right? So for those of you that aren't super familiar with Excel, if you just click between the columns and drag, it'll make the column bigger so you can read it a little bit better. So that is what I do for all of these. And some of them are going to be a lot bigger than others, and it's going to take up more than your screen most likely, and that's okay because you can always scroll. So I am going to do this to make sure it all fits. And then the other thing I like to do is format the columns. So for example, this one right here, there's always going to be a date in these boxes. So I always want to show it, like if I were to type in, 228, I don't want it to show like that. I want it to show like 228 or 229, which was not this year, 2023 or whatever the year was. So the way that you can do that is if you actually click the entire column, and if you do format and then go down to number and go down to date. When you type that in next time, well, it should have. I don't know why I didn't. I think because I already typed it in. Let me try. Maybe because that's not a date, Sierra. That could be why. So it'll show up the year afterwards. So that way you know the year and everything like that. Like I said, I know we only do these, or at least I only do these for the entire year, but I just like the way it looks better. The other thing I like to do is I like for everything to be centered. So the way you can do that is click this little box up here and it will highlight the entire spreadsheet. And then you can go over here and click centered and it will center every single box that you have. So you don't have to do it every time you go in. The other thing I want to do on these that are going to have money amounts is to format them to be money amounts instead of just like, it'll just show like 500 and that's it. It doesn't have a dollar sign or anything like that. Again, this is totally personal preference, but you can go back and do that same way. Highlight the column, go back up to format and number. And then if you go down here to currency, if I go up here and I type in 500, it's going to change it to $500 and it's going to look a little bit better. It's not just going to be like a random 500 in the middle of the spreadsheet. So I do that for all of these. And if you want to select more than one at a time, you can just hit the first one and then go as far over as you need to and hold down your shift key when you click and it'll highlight all of them. And then you can do them all at once. So it takes a little bit less time. Does anybody have any questions about any of that so far? Okay, I don't see any, so I'm going to keep going. So what I do on this is I'm going to actually highlight this column and I'm going to copy and paste it into my other two spreadsheets. And it's not going to format it quite the same. But if you come over here and click this paste formatting, you can actually paste format too. Oh God, it didn't work. Just kidding. Ignore me. I'm going to have to skip through this and make all these bigger. It worked last time I did it. So anyways, we're going to basically put all of this. I take out this total amount booked column actually. So if you highlight that and you hit control and then click on it, you can delete it. Or if you want to go up through the edit and all that good stuff, I just don't like to do that. Instead of date booked, I'm going to put date paid because this is what we are earning, right? So we want to know what date we got paid on. And then I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. So, oh goodness, so I can read it all. Total earned. And then I can take off these columns as well. The one thing I do like to do on here is I like to add in a column of what it was paid for. So I usually do this after the who column. If you wanted to put both in here, so for example, let's say I'm your client. So that's who, and then what it's for is Cancun. You can always do that. I just personally like to have it in 2 separate columns. So again, that's totally personal preference, but I just add a column to the left and put pay. Oh gosh, why is my caps lock not working? Paid for. So then in this column, I'll put, Cancun or the name of the resort in Cancun, or if it's an airport transfer or something like that. So that way I can keep up with what I've been paid for and what I haven't, because obviously I want to know the amounts, but I also want to know if I'm missing commission for a certain thing. It's easier for me to tell when I look at this paid for column. So then on the last one, I am going to go over, and this one is going to be a little bit different because it's expenses. So in the first column, again, who, what, because I want to know where am I spending that money. Date spent, so the date that I bought whatever it was. I also want to put it into a category. Again, this is personal preference, but I like to know where a lot of my money is going, what I'm spending it the most on. And I'll kind of give you guys some ideas of what categories I use when we get a little bit further into it. But I do category, and then I also like to have a column that says, why is this a write-off? Because the whole reason I'm tracking my expenses is to write them off at tax season. So this is going to vary a little bit. Again, I do this because my accountant, I had quite a bit of like meals and things on mine this past year. And my accountant was like, you can't count off all your meals. And I was like, but I left business cards and I talked to the waitress and things like that. And I shared my business with people, in the restaurant. So at that point, then it counted because I was there on business. So obviously speak to your accountant or your CPA or whatever you use to do your taxes, because I know it can vary state to state. Things like that as far as what you can and can't count. But this is why I like to have that column, so she knows ahead of time, like, why do I think I could get this money, written off of what I earned. And then obviously you want to have the total that you spent. So again, I'm just going to go through and edit these really quickly. And then I'm going to center this whole thing. And then obviously make these columns a little bit bigger. And this, why is this a write-off category, can get a little lengthy, so you may have to edit it as you go to make it bigger and things like that. I'm going to go in and make this a date. And then I'm going to go in and make this a currency so that it's already formatted when I get to whatever it is. And then obviously if you want to change the font when you enter these and things like that, then obviously you certainly can. So how do I fill this out? I know that's like the biggest question. Okay, cool. We've got the sheet now. What do I put on it? So to give you guys an example, let me actually pull up one of my bookings that I recently did. Let's see if I can remember their names. I had a lot in February, so hopefully Vax will cooperate with me. If anybody has any questions about how I just set that up, let me know. Oh gosh, did I not book it in here? I don't think that's her name. Okay, let me do a different one. She just changed her name, so. All right, I don't see any questions, so that's good. So I know on this spreadsheet, some people like to keep their confirmation numbers and things like that on the spreadsheet too. I personally don't, just because most of the time I don't need them. I can just look them up. But if you wanted to add that column, you certainly can. If there's any other travel information that you want to put on there, you can do that. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Of course, it's not going to cooperate when I'm trying to show y'all. I love technology when it works. Okay, so I'm going to let this load and I'll show you guys what I'm doing. So I know it's a little bit grayed out, but you can still see her name on here. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and enter this stuff. So who, what, like I mentioned, this is going to be my client's name. If you want to put where they're going, you can do that too, especially if you have people that book with you a lot. I personally don't really put where they're going, just because for the most part, I remember at this point in time, I don't have too many clients that I don't know where they're going. But I'm going to put her name. The date I booked her was, let's see here. So the deposit was due March 1st, which she already paid that. So let's just put a random date. Let's say I booked it February 15th. I typed in 215 and it's not going to change because it shows up here. I don't know why it doesn't show the year on this one, but it will on all the other ones. The total amount that I booked was this total right here. So 3845.86. So 3845.86. So I didn't type the money sign and it's automatically there when I go over to the next thing. So I didn't have any instant commissions on this because I booked through Vax. So I'm going to leave that blank, obviously. And then my Archer commissions, what I personally put in this column, especially in Vax, you go to booking administration and it shows you the total commission. What I do for my spreadsheet personally, I know some people put what the total commission is and then what you will receive. I don't really care about what the total is. I only care about what I'm getting because that's the only thing I have to report on my taxes, right? So I always pull up my calendar and my calculator and do the 382.80 and then I'm minus 20% because obviously we receive 80%. So that gives me 306.24. And I hope you guys can see this. I know I'm probably little on your screen. So that's what I'm going to put in the Archer commissions because this is the commissions I should receive from Archer, right? So then what I'm going to do, obviously this one is easy. I could just copy and paste this number, but I'm actually going to set up formats. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk today. Formulas so that it will automatically populate the amount. I don't have to do the math myself. So the way that you're going to do that, could you show how you found the commission? So you find in Vax, it's going to be under booking administration. It's going to be different for every vendor. So if you have questions about other vendors, ask in the chat, but just for this, it'll be under booking administration. Anyway, so the formula that I am going to use, if you click in the box next to where you want to do it and click equals, it's going to try to add all of this together, but I don't want to add all of that together. I just want to know how much I'm earning. So you're going to do equals and then the word sum and then in parentheses. And then you're going to highlight just these two columns right here. I know there's nothing in this one, but you'll see why we do this here in just a minute. So, and then you're going to close that parentheses and enter. So then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to highlight this column and this little blue square down here. If you click on that and drag it down, it's going to copy that same formula for every single line that you have. Obviously, once you get further down and you use all of these, you're going to have to continue to drag it. But for example, if I have, let's just say I was my own client, which doesn't make sense why I would charge an instant commission, but just for this example, and then I booked myself a trip on 2/20. The total amount that I booked, let's say, was $4,500. Of that, I had $400 in instant commission, and then I had, let's just say, $250 in Archer commission. So see how I entered those numbers and it automatically totaled it up for me. So that way I don't have to do the math myself. It's just automatically there. And then when you get to the bottom, or if you just want to know how much you've earned for the year or whatever, you can come down to the bottom of the column. Obviously, if you don't have all those zeros, you could just do it right under. And you can do the same thing, but for the entire column. So it already kind of has it up there. So if you just hit enter, it'll show you how much you've already earned for the year. So that way you don't have to continue to go in and do all the math and everything like that. It's just automatically done for you. It makes it super, super easy. So over here where it has travel dates, I don't remember exactly when this person's travel dates are, so I'm just going to guess. So can you show the formula again? Yes. So right here, let me delete all of these. I'm going to delete both of these actually so I can show you. So in your total earned category, you're going to do equals and then the word sum because you're adding them together. And then the two boxes that you want to add, because it's trying to add in your total amount booked and your commissions, which you don't want because you only want to know what you're actually earning, right? So I just highlight these two oh gosh, why did it? I didn't put the parentheses. That's why. Make sure you put the parentheses or it doesn't work. Put your parentheses and then highlight the boxes that you want it to add together. And then you're going to close that parentheses and press enter. And it's going to automatically do it for you. And then, like I said, once you highlight this, you can click this little blue box and go down and just drag it down. and it'll autofill that exact same formula for every single line, so that when you go to type stuff in, you don't have to worry about doing the formula again. It'll just automatically do it. Does that make sense to everybody? I know it's a new thing for a lot of people, so let me know if I need to show how to do that one more time. Okay, perfect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Wonderful. So in the travel dates, I don't edit this to be dates because I do mine a little funny. And if you guys want to change the way you have yours look, that's totally fine. So like I said, I don't remember exactly when this person is traveling, but I'll show the total at the bottom here in just a second. Let me finish talking about this. So the travel dates, I believe these people are going June 9th through the 14th. So I just do that and then 2023. So I know some people like to do it like this, with like the full date. I just don't, because I understand what this first one means. So just pick what you like, and kind of go from there. And then in the when should I get paid column, I typically do 45 days after the trip. So we get paid between 30 and 60 days. If I get paid 30 days out, cool, I got paid early. If I get paid 60 days out, then that's okay. I kind of just guess in the middle. So for this one, 45 days out would be like the end of July. So it'll be the last business day of July, which is, I need a calendar because I don't know. July 31st is actually the last business day of the month. Oh gosh. 7/31/23. And you can go in and edit this column to make it a date, because I forgot to do that. So if it's a cruise or something, usually with those you get paid 30 days before. This can vary just a little bit. Things like that. So you should, like I said, I put when I should get paid. Obviously, there is a little bit of wiggle room with this. And then I know if I haven't gotten paid by this date to kind of be on the lookout for it. And I'll give it one or two more pay cycles. And then if I don't have it by that point, then that's when I know, hey, I need to fill out a where's my commission form. So that is kind of how I fill out the bookings tab. I also put on here, because I personally charge a fee. So just for example, let me find somebody to pick on. All right, Brittany Patterson, I'm picking on you. So let's just say I have my phone call with Brittany and she's decided she wants to move forward with me, and I have her pay my service fee that I charge before I have any quotes. So I put that on the bookings tab as well. So let's just say, for example, I talked to her today. So today is March 8th. So I put in date booked. I don't put anything in the total amount booked because I didn't book a trip for her. So I leave that column for any trips booked. And then instant commission, my fee is $50. So I didn't earn any commissions through Archer with that, but I did charge an instant commission. So I don't need to put in any travel dates or anything like that because I get paid that immediately, right? Because it's an instant commission. Can you say the date part paid again about when we get paid and the where's my commission? So we typically get paid 30 to 60 days after travel. The date that I put on my spreadsheet is usually about 45 days after travel. So that way I know if I don't get it by then, I need to be on the lookout for it for, next payday, 2 paydays after that at the latest. And then if I don't have it by that point, then I need to fill out a where's my commission form, because typically you should be paid within 60 days at the latest. Let's see. All right. And then the total that I was going to show you guys, what are the paydays? So we get paid the 15th and the last business day of the month. You're welcome. And then I was going to go back and show you guys how I did the total earned. And I do it over here with my bookings too, so that I know I can do it by month, I can do it by year, things like that. So it's going to be the same for both. Again, you just go under everything that you have tallied up that's already calculated, click equals, and then you're going to do sum again. And as you can see, it's already highlighted everything. So you don't actually have to type anything in. You can just click enter. And it'll show you how much you've already earned for the year. If you want to know how much you have or how much you should earn, obviously these haven't been paid out yet, right? So how much you should be earning for the year if you get paid the amount of commissions that you thought you should and all of those things. Like I said, I also like to keep up with this for my bookings. So same thing, you just go in that same column for bookings, type in some, and mine already auto populates. So yours most likely will too. So you can do that and it'll show you what you've booked for the whole year. And I can go in and show you guys how I do it for the month. Basically, if I were to have, let's just add in some more for March. I know it hasn't passed yet, but let's just say 38.90. I have one for 38, for 318, for 350, something like that. So if I wanted to know what I earned just in March, obviously I only have 2 on here, but if I had more, you can do it the same way you did over here. Just do equals, sum, parentheses, and then just highlight the ones that have the March dates. So for this, obviously it's just 2, but if you had more, then it would still be the same concept. Close your parentheses and press enter. So this is the amount that I booked for March. So I usually just do it to see it and then I delete it off of there. Otherwise I'm like, what is this number for? And you can always tell what is included in it up here. So just keep note of that. So that's kind of how I keep up with my bookings. Does anybody have any questions about this specific part of the spreadsheet? I'm going to go over money earned and expenses next, but does anybody have any questions about this part that they need me to go back over? All right, I don't see any. Perfect. So let's say that it is payday. Oh, one question. Let's see. Can you explain instant commission? So instant commission, I have a whole video about this on the website, so I'm not going to go over that. Basically, that's when you charge like a wholesale fee or something like that. But there are training videos on the Horizon site, but I'm not going to go over how to charge those and things like that on here just because that's not what I'm doing today. But there are videos about it on the Horizon site if you want to check those out. So money earned. So as I mentioned, obviously this has kind of similar information, but this you're going to go in and fill out when you've actually gotten paid, because we want to keep up with what we booked, but we also want to keep up with what we've already earned and what we've gotten paid at the same time. So basically what I do for this is when it's payday, usually it takes 24 hours after, sometimes it's a little bit longer. You can log into your Evo travel site. And when you log in, and I don't mind showing you guys this. So, when you log in under commissions, there is a paid commissions tab. So, this is just one of my accounts. So you can actually click on the year, and then it'll show you the date that you were paid, what it was for, and how much you got paid for it. So I'm going to kind of show you guys how I do this, and I'm going to pull it up into different screens so that you guys can see exactly how I do it. Can you guys see both of my screens? I know it's not showing all of both of them, but can you see both of them? Yes, yes. Perfect. Okay, so for example, this first one right here. So these people, this, like I said, this is a cruise. So I got paid for this a little bit early, right? So what I'm going to do is I remember this person's name. Obviously, if you don't remember who it's for, then you may need to go back and look at your records, but I know who this is for because I was expecting to get paid this. So what I do is I put the person's name. His name was Frank Pierce. What was I paid for? I was paid for his Carnival cruise. When did I get paid for it? And that's all right here for you. So I got paid that on 2/28, and I did not format this. So let me go back and do that. Date, and then let me, sorry y'all, I always forget this part. I go in and do currency. Okay, I did do those, but I guess I didn't do the date one. So I was paid on February 28th. I didn't earn any instant commissions on this. This is just my Archer commissions. And then I was paid $275.12. So to get to this commissions page, you log into your Evo Travel Agent website. And then once you've logged in, at the top, it should say commissions, and it'll give you like a little drop down box, and there should be a tab that says paid commissions. So that's how you can see it. It usually, like I said, it usually takes about 24 to 48 hours after you've gotten paid for all of this to show up. So if you go in and you know you've been paid, but it's not showing up, just keep checking back every day and it should show up, because this one took a little bit longer to show up. And then same thing that we did on the last one, I'm going to put a formula in here. So I want to combine both of these and hit enter, so it automatically does it for me. And I want to center all of this because I don't like how it looks. I'm very particular about that. Do you take the $5 fee off of total earned? I do not, and I'm going to show you guys where I put that. So hang tight because I'm getting there. So this is kind of how it looks once I get paid. And then obviously I go through and do that for all of them. If you guys team build and you earn from your agents, if you get the 10%, what I do is for the who, what, I just put 10% from agent, paid for agent commission, and then same concept. So same thing over here. If you want to go down and, do this formula all the way down, you can. It's going to show zeros until you fill something in, but then at least you don't have to redo the formula. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes, yes. Perfect. The other thing I do, since I do charge a fee, or when I charge instant commissions, I go ahead and enter that on my money earned. So even if I haven't been paid, say I do a trip and I do part of it for instant commissions and part of it with Archer commissions, I go ahead and put the instant commissions that I earned. So let's just say, for example, this fee right here that I charged, this $50 to Brittany. So I charge that, I get that the same day, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my spreadsheet. So I'm going to put her name. What did I get paid for? She paid my service fee. She paid that on today, which is March 8th. My instant commission is $50. And then see, it automatically does that for me. So like this one was $4.96. So we'll just do this just so I can show you guys the math. And then if you want to, you can go in and again, do the formula at the bottom of the column and you can see how much you've made for the year. If you want to do it by month, you can do that. So that's always really nice. I like to do that to be like, how much money have I made this year so far? The other thing that I did not put on here, but if you guys are team builders, this is another tab that you need to have. So for those of you that are not team builders and you don't earn residuals, you can kind of ignore this. But if you are a team builder, you will need to insert a tab for residuals. And then I need to actually adjust these formulas for that. So if you're not a team builder, obviously you can ignore this for a second. But for me, I am a team builder. So what I do, I have multiple accounts because I am gold. But if you only have one account or whatever, what I do is my who, what, I put my agent ID number that I earned it under. What was I paid for? Residuals. When did I get paid for that? We got paid for that the Friday after the 15th, which was February 17th. So February 17th, obviously I didn't get any instant commission or Archer commissions. And let's just say you were silver and they paid out $108.56. I don't know if that's right. I can't remember. But just for example, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change these formulas to be all three columns instead of just the two. So, and then I'm going to obviously go down and do all of these. So that way you know what you earned in residuals as well, because those also, you get a 1099 for that too if you earn more than $600, okay? Does anybody have questions about how I do that? And like I said, I have multiple accounts. So like this is what I got on my first account. If I earned residuals on another account, I would just put in that number, and I honestly don't remember what it is. So I put my agent ID that I earned it for in the who, what column. And that's kind of how I keep up with that. Does that make sense to everybody? I don't see any questions, so I'm going to assume yes. All right, perfect. So then the last thing is the expenses tab. So this is where I enter anything that I spend, whether it be my $69.95 monthly fee, whether it's this travel protection plus fee for the errors and omissions insurance that they charge for fraud purposes, whether it's my Travel Joy subscription, or I order business cards, or I go out to eat and I leave my business cards with the waitress, whatever it is, this is where I put it on this category. However, I will tell you, just having this spreadsheet is not enough. You need to keep your receipts. So my accountant didn't ask for them. However, if I were to get audited by the IRS, this spreadsheet saying, oh, well, I spent this much money, they don't care. They want proof that I spent this much money. So please, 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 please keep your receipts. And if you download Expensify, you can upload pictures to it and you don't have to keep the physical receipt in your hand. And there is a training on that as well on the Horizon site. But please, please, please don't throw away your receipts or don't not store pictures of them somewhere. because if for whatever reason the IRS was to audit you and be like, this doesn't make any sense, then you are going to have to take off all the things that you don't have proof that you paid for. So please know that. So the first one I'm going to put on here, which is what all of us are going to need to have, is our $69.95 monthly fee, right? So who am I paying that to? I'm paying that to Archer Travel Service. Mine renews on the 15th of the month, I believe. So I personally did this for the whole year. So if I go on a trip, I can put all of what I spent on there. Yes. And I'm going to go over that because I do break it down. I don't do it by the whole trip. I do each individual transaction because that's what you have receipts for. So for the fee, so I personally went ahead and did mine for the whole year just because I don't plan on leaving. Obviously, if I do, for whatever reason, I can go in and take them off, but I don't plan on leaving. So I knew that I had to do it for the 15th, and I don't think I formatted these either. So let me do that first. Oh, I did. Okay, perfect. 115. Is it easier to get your receipts emailed to keep it and add it later? That's totally up to you. I know like restaurants and stuff don't email you receipts, so I just take pictures of them and upload them to the app. And sometimes after so long, my emails delete, so I don't really trust it that much. So I like to have paper copies or the pictures of the paper copy in my app, but it's totally personal preference. So the category that I kind of put this under, the app that I use is Expensify. And there, I believe, is a training on the Horizon site about how to use it. So I just do this as a subscription because it is a recurring monthly payment that I technically have to make, even though my residuals cover it. So I do subscription. And then why is this a write-off? This is probably, other than how much it was, it's probably the most important because, like I said, if you have an accountant that's like, well, you can't count this, you already know why you can count it. So why is this a write-off? This is my monthly fee to be an agent. It's that simple. You don't have to make it super complicated. That's what it is. My monthly fee to be an agent. And if they have more questions, obviously you can answer it then, but that's going to be $69.95. So like I said, I do this for every single month because I know that it's a recurring payment, and you can do that. You can enter in all the dates, and then you can actually just like pull this down, and you don't have to like copy and paste it over and over and over again. You can just click and drag, much easier. So I do that for the whole year. If you are just starting out and you're still trying it out and things like that, then obviously you can do it as you go. But for me, it was just easier to go ahead and do it so that I didn't have to go in and do it every single month. And I also have multiple accounts. So for me, I do my agent ID next to it so that I know which account I'm paying it on. For the receipt for your monthly subscription, if you go into your back office, into your e-wallet, it should show on there. Otherwise, you can have Archer send you something, or you can take a screenshot from your bank account of the transaction in your bank account if you aren't able to get it from Archer for whatever reason. So I typically have multiple of these because, like I said, I do have multiple accounts, but if you only have one account, then you don't necessarily need to do your agent ID number. I just do so I can keep track of all of them because all of mine get paid on different dates. So that's the first one that probably everybody has. That's probably the only one that we all have. I'm going to show you guys next my Travel Protection Plus fee. So this does vary depending on how much you earn for the month or for the payday. And there is a flyer for that in Travel Cafe that you can look and things like that. Do you record it if it comes out of your residuals? Yes, because you are technically still paying that. Even though it's not coming out of your bank account, you are still paying that monthly fee. Because obviously of that residual, if you get paid $108 in residuals, you don't actually get to keep $108. So that's why I keep up with it. So this Travel Protection Plus fee, that is exactly what I put under the who what. So Travel Protection Plus fee. I was charged that on 2/28. The category, I put insurance because that's technically what it's for. And then why is this a write-off? Insurance to protect from fraud. Put it like that because you run a business. That's the whole purpose of being charged that fee anyway. So it's insurance to protect from fraud. And then obviously you don't need to put -20 because this is expenses. All of these are going to be technically negative numbers. So I just put in $20, or sometimes it's $3, sometimes it's $5. Again, it depends on how much commission you earn. Travel Protection Plus is the insurance. So there is a whole thing about this in the Travel Cafe. So if you are interested, you can look at it there. And then for things like, let's say I go on a trip. So for example, I'm going to Mexico on a fam trip in May. I had to pay for my flight to get there, which actually I didn't because I used airline miles, but just for an example, I had to pay for the fam trip itself. And then I am also doing site visits while I'm there that I set up with a transfer company. So I'm having to pay the transfer company to drive me around. So I'm going to put 3 different things on my expenses tab. So the first one, I am flying United. So I'm going to put United Airlines. So I used airline miles and then I had to pay like $100 extra. So I actually just bought those 2 days ago. So I'm going to put that date on here. Category is travel because that's what I'm doing. So why is it a write-off? Flight to familiarization trip. And obviously I did not spell that right. I'm just going to put fam trip. Obviously my accountant doesn't know what a fam trip is, but if she asks me, I can tell her, hey, it's a familiarization trip. I'm going on this trip to stay at resorts, tour resorts, and get to know them so that I can sell them to my clients. But I'm not going to put all of that in here because it's just long. Lori said, so basically anything and everything you use for business purposes. Absolutely. Anything you pay for that has to do with your business, put it on your expenses sheet. I'm getting so much money back in my taxes this year because I kept up with it. So like I said, it was like $101.56 for my flight because I used airline miles. So I did that. And then my fam trip is through Mexico Fam Trips. I paid them sometime in January. So I'm just going to pick a random date. Travel. And then I'm going to put business familiarization trip. Again, if my accountant asks me, I can always tell her I'm going to tour resorts and things like that so I can better sell it to my clients. The fam trip itself was $650 for 5 days. So pretty good if you ask me. And I see a couple questions. I'll get to those in just a second. And then the last thing that I did is my site inspections. I am using Amstar. So I'm going to put Amstar. I just paid for that yesterday. Again, this is considered travel. Actually, this can be considered research because I'm not really traveling. It's more researching properties because I'm just going to see them. So again, business familiarization trip, and then I paid them, I think it was $200. I should know this because I just did this yesterday. I think it was $200 for the full day. I'm going to like 6 different resorts. So then obviously if you want to, which I personally recommend, especially if you don't do them in order, like how I just didn't do these in order because I put in all of my subscriptions, you can actually highlight this top row, and this goes for all of the sheets, and click if you have your full screen open, this little filter button, you can just click the little filter and it'll give you the option to do this so that when you want to organize these by when you paid them from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, you can click this little button right here and do sort A to Z, and it will automatically put them in order from the first thing you paid for to the last thing you've paid for. And then same thing over here, you can come in and do the formula to see how much you've spent in a year. So I always do this at the end of the year. I put it at the very bottom and I highlight it in red because it's an expense. On my money earned tab, I do the same thing, but I do it in green because that's what I actually earned. And then obviously they subtract the two and do all their tax stuff that I don't know a whole lot about. So there are a couple questions in the chat. So even paying for business cards, Travelify subscription, all of that, anything that you pay for your business should go on this spreadsheet. So I have, and I can show you guys my actual one so you guys can kind of get a better idea. So I'm going to do my one for last year because it has more stuff on it. Give me just a second. So I also have my husband's on here because he's 1099. So I'm going to go over this color coded thing in just a second. But as you guys can see, I have marketing things on here. So like Fiverr, I paid somebody to create my logo. I had already created it. I just wanted it to look better. So I paid them to create my logo. I pay for my business website, my business cards. All of this, like I said, I went out to eat, but I left business cards, and it was places I had never been before. So you can also say that it's research, because as a travel agent, another part of our job is to give recommendations for, well, this is a really good place to eat, or this is a really fun spot to hang out, or a really fun club to go to, or something like that. And if you've never been there before, then you can classify it as research, but make sure that you note that that's what it is. So I was able to put all of my food and everything like that on there as well. So I have all kinds of different things. So I think, yeah, so last year I put my monthly maintenance fee. Like I said, on this one, I put monthly fee to be an agent. It's not a super big deal as to what you call it, as long as you know what it's for. All right, so lots and lots of questions. Let's see. Do you put Canva on there? If you're paying for Canva to do business things, then yes. So if you pay for Canva to make business cards or to make flyers with your business information, things like that, then absolutely, yes. If it's not a fam trip, just a regular trip, can I put that too? Yes. So this right here, let me see if I can find it. That was a fam trip. I don't know if I really went on any. So typically I went on a trip in September. Let me find it. September, where are you? Okay, so this one, technically just me and my husband went on this trip, but I had never been there before. So it's still a familiarization trip. It's just not considered a fam trip. It's not what you guys might think of as far as agents going. So even though just me and my husband went, I was still going for the very first time. I had never seen it. I did a tour of it, all of that good stuff. If it's like personal travel, like you're going to visit family and stuff like that, that may be a little different. Speak with your accountant, because like I went home for Christmas. I didn't count our gas to get there because I was going back to my hometown. It wasn't really travel that I was trying to sell. So I personally didn't put that, but I would reach out to your accountant and see what they say. What about rent, since we work from home? So again, speak with your accountant. Every state and things like that have different rules about what you can count with rent and what you can't. I know for me, we live in a camper full time, so I was not able to count mine because I didn't have a designated office space. My parents run a business and they have a designated office space, so they're able to count off a portion of their mortgage. But again, it's different everywhere. So speak with an accountant, because I am not a tax professional by any means. What happens if I buy my business cards from a small business and they don't give a receipt? You should still have some way that to show that you paid for it. So always get receipts. That's my next piece of advice. Yes. So for dining while traveling, not at home. So if you leave business cards, you talk to the waitress about your business, whether you're at home or not, you can still count that off, or at least my accountant advised me that I could, as long as I was talking about my business while I was there. It's not necessarily just because you go somewhere else. So if you leave business cards or you leave a flyer at that restaurant or something like that, you're technically advertising your business. So I would just classify it in a different category. You could do it as advertising instead. Or if you wanted to put food and dining, just put advertised at the restaurant or something like that. If you've been to a location before, just not that hotel. So again, speak with your accountants, because I don't want to tell you guys wrong. Like I said, I didn't count when I went home. Again, I didn't stay in a hotel when I went home. I stayed with family. But if you are going to new places that you have never been before, then absolutely you can count that off, because you are researching it. Whether you anticipate on selling it or not, you at least have that new knowledge that you can share with other people. Can you write off your cell phone and internet? Again, ask your accountant, because it's going to depend. I can count off my internet because where we lived, as you guys see right here, I didn't have service where I lived. I didn't have phone service. So unless I had internet, I was not going to be able to work from home. So I was able to count mine off, but again, reach out to your accountant. I am also able to count off my phone, but I'm not able to count off my husband's phone. So I have to go through our cell phone bills and see how much of the cell phone bill is for my portion and how much is for his portion. And I can only count off my portion. So speak with your accountant to be sure. Because like I said, it's a little bit different for everybody in every state and things like that. Different states have different rules and different things that you can count off. So the next thing I want to show you guys is for when you do get paid for things. This is, again, just how I keep up with it. Not necessarily how you have to do it, but when you have more things on here, like I do on my 2022 one, what I do when I get paid for it, and I don't do this for my service fee because obviously I know I got paid that immediately. So I don't do it for that. I just do it for my archer commissions. Once I get paid for it, I go in and highlight it in green because green to me means money. So if it's in green, I know I've gotten paid for it. I don't need to worry about it. If there's one that has, the other reason I do this is because I know what I expect to get paid. So if I get paid something different, then I can reach out and see what it is. Obviously, if it's only a couple dollars, then I'm probably not going to reach out about that. I most likely just did the math wrong. However, if it's like 20, 40, $100 different than what you expected to get paid, you can reach out to Archer and be like, hey, this is what I thought I would get paid. Can you please explain to me what it is? And I had that happen. And I got paid for a 10-leg policy. I was supposed to get paid like $25 and I only got paid like $5, which was not a huge deal. It was only about a $20 difference, but I just wanted to know for next time, like, am I calculating this wrong or what's going on? So they told me that 10-leg had only paid out part of the policy and they were waiting for the rest of it. So I got paid that $5 on one payday, and then a couple paydays later, I got paid the rest. So I like to keep up with it for that too. The other thing I do is, if I didn't get paid for it correctly, quote unquote, I will highlight it in yellow to be like, hey, I got paid for this, but something's a little weird. I'm not sure if it's done paying out. And then usually I give it another payday or two. And if I haven't seen anything else, then that's when I'll reach out. If there is something like this one, so if people cancel, I go in under the total amount earned and put canceled, because this one, they didn't have travel insurance. They had free cancellation, all that stuff. So I know I wasn't going to earn anything on that. Other ones, it's going to depend on your insurance and things like that. So just keep an eye out on what you've earned and then you can add it to your sheet. But if I get paid something, what I see is either missing. If something is missing, like if I know I should have gotten paid this $331, but I didn't get paid for that yet, and it's been, 2-3 months, then I highlight it in red. I send in a where's my commission form. And if I haven't heard anything back or received anything within the next month, then I know I need to call somebody and be like, hey, where's this at? That has only happened to me once. And it turns out I made the mess up and I put in the wrong confirmation number. So they didn't know to pay it to me. But it helps you know what you have been paid, what you're still missing, and things like that. When it's time to do taxes, do you just print out the sheets and show the person who does the taxes? Yes. So I actually just email mine just because it's easier for me than printing it all out, because I have, a really, really long sheet here, obviously. But I just email it. But yeah, you can print it out and do it that way too. The way that you highlight it, you just highlight the entire row, and then up here with this little paint bucket, you click whatever color you want. Super, super simple. So like all of these right here are instant commissions that I received. So this one, these people are currently on their trip right now. So obviously this is my spreadsheet from 2022. But I do keep up with both of them. I still go back and highlight it in green because I want to make sure that I'm getting paid for all of these trips, right? So they're on this trip right now. Obviously I haven't gotten paid for that yet. But if I don't get paid for that by the end of April, then I know to come back and be like, hey, this is how much I should have. Where is it? Does that make sense to everybody? Yes, yes. Does anybody have any questions about anything I just went over? That's not like tax specific, because like I said, I know it varies from state to state. More about how to set this up is, I guess, what I would say. Does anybody have questions about?
So I missed, I guess, Crystal asked, do you report it if it comes out of your residuals? What was she addressing at that? I had jumped up from my seat, so I didn't catch that.
The $69.95, the monthly fee. So when you earn residuals, when you're a team builder, you're still paying that $69.95. It just doesn't come straight out of your bank account. So yes, you still count it. That's what she was talking about.
That's if you're team building. Got it.
Yes. Okay. So you wrote off the trip in 2022, even though they are on it in 2023. So it's not a write-off, but I booked it in 2022. So that's how I keep up with when it was booked and how much I should get paid. I don't make a new spreadsheet because, like I said, I keep track of when I booked it, not when they're going on the trip. And then I can just go back and see, if I was paid for it or not. Yes. Can you go over switching to money in the sheets and the sum formula one more time? Yes. So the way that you are going to do that is, let me make another tab just so I can show you. You guys don't need to add this tab to your thing, but we'll just, whatever. So the way that you're going to do it is you're going to make them money, you're going to highlight the entire column. So if you just click like the letter at the top, it'll highlight the entire column. Under format, number, and then to make it, you can pick from these, obviously. So if you want it to be money sign, you'll do currency. If you want it to be a date, you'll do date. I know on my travel inquiry form, I have phone numbers to where it shows up like this instead of just one big long phone number that I can't read. So you can pick obviously which one you need. And then for the sum, on this side, so let me just delete this one and I'll just pretend that there were some commissions in here. And we'll just do $23. I don't know. This is just random numbers, obviously. So to do it from side to side, you're going to click in whatever row it is under the column that you want it in. Do equals, and then mine automatically populates. So if yours does that too, you can just click enter and it'll automatically do it for you. If not, then you do equals sum. You have to do a parentheses and then you can highlight which ones you want. So make sure you're not including the total amount booked column because that's not part of your earnings technically. And then make sure you close the parenthesis and hit enter. And then to get it to do like all these zeros, obviously there's nothing in this column. The way I did that is just by clicking in the little cell and then this square, this little blue square, yours may be a different color. I just click and drag all the way down so that it'll automatically populate. So then when I go in here and my total amount booked is $400 and I got $15 in instant commission and $70 in Archer commission, it automatically updates for me. I don't have to worry about that. Does that make sense? And then what was the other one you said? The sum formula. Okay, yeah, I just did that one. Does that make sense, Abby?
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so I am going to stop sharing my screen and stop the recording.